My parents disowned me because I wouldn't divorce my wife because they're racist, but I got my revenge when they came crawling back because they're broke. I cut off contact with my parents over a decade ago for my own sanity. Or rather, they disowned me for choosing the woman I love over their twisted beliefs. Context? I'm 41, and I've been married to my wife, Merlina, also 41, for 15 years. Life is good. I'm still deeply in love with her, the same way I was 15 years ago, maybe even more. That love has only grown over the years. She's supported me in building this life I'm so proud of. Most importantly, she's given me 3 wonderful kids, aged 9, 6, and 2. I'm so grateful for the life I have with her now. It would have been vastly different if I had listened to my parents. They thought she wasn't the right girl for me. My parents hated her before they even met her. Not because she was a bad person, or lacked education or a career, or anything like that. Nope, it was because of her skin color. I still remember the day I told my mom about her, before even showing her a picture. I was beaming with pride, anticipating something positive. Instead of excitement, she recoiled. She looked at me in astonishment, as if I was showing her I was dating a green alien with antennae on its head. I wasn't expecting that from her. Then she said, "No, you can't be serious, you're kidding, right?" I replied, "No, I'm dead serious about this, she's my girlfriend." The rest of the conversation was weird and frustrating. She asked if Merlina had trapped me or if there was something I was hiding. She thought I was being blackmailed and that we could go to the police. I clarified that she hadn't trapped me with anything. I love her, and that's it. I asked her why it seemed so unbelievable to her. At first she was a bit evasive with the question, "You know what I mean?" When I pressed her for an answer, she blew up and spewed all her racist crap. "What's wrong with you? How can you be attracted to her?" I asked, "Why not?" She whispered, "She's so ugly with that skin and that, well, you know, documentary face." I lost it. I couldn't believe my mom was not only racist but also making the most horrible comments. I yelled at her. She apologized, since she didn't mean to hurt me. I told her she was not only being a garbage human with her racist comments but also talking about the girl I love, and that was unacceptable. I told her Merlina was brilliant, kind, and beautiful inside and out. That I loved her caramel skin, her warm brown eyes, her entire being. The apologies were short-lived, and she went back to her apartheid mode. "I can't believe what you said either. Enjoy whatever you do with her, but don't bring her home." I replied, "Whatever I do with her? What do you mean?" She didn't say anything, but her face said it all. She was talking about me being with her just for sex, for some twisted fantasy. Then she started her campaign. At every family gathering, which wasn't at their place because I didn't visit them anymore, there was always a white woman present. Sometimes a childhood friend, sometimes the daughter of a family friend. It was never subtle. She'd openly praise these women in front of me, highlighting their beauty, their good upbringing, their strong family values. She even went so far as to share my number, exaggerating about my job, salary, and all the good things about me. She even told one of these girls I was well endowed, which disgusted me coming from my mother. She presented me as the shy guy who couldn't approach women and insisted that they be the ones to initiate conversations. A couple of girls texted me, saying they found my shyness and silence unattractive. I had to tell them the truth. Once, she tried to set me up with a childhood friend. She was our neighbor when we were kids. As we grew up, we lost touch. My mother somehow convinced her we were the perfect match and that I was thriving in my career. The woman pretended to run into me several times in a month, at the gym, the supermarket, the park. The first 2 times, I didn't realize, but when she said, "I think the universe is giving us a sign. Would you like to have dinner sometime?" it made me think my mother was behind it. And this was after I hadn't spoken to my mom in a long time. I told her the truth, that I was dating someone else, and my mom was doing all this to make me dump Merlina. She blew up at my mom, and her family cut off contact with my parents. The times I confronted my mom about all this, before I stopped talking to her, she played innocent. "I was just thinking about your future, one day you'll thank me." I walked away from them, stopped visiting, stopped answering their calls. But my mother didn't stop. she started a second, full-blown campaign to separate us. She sent me articles and stories where white people were victims in interracial marriages, from random accounts, claiming we were only trapped for citizenship and money. If we accidentally ran into each other at any social gathering, parties, weddings, funerals, she didn't miss her chance to tell me something, even when I hadn't even said hi to her. She'd tell everyone Merlina manipulated me and was with me only for my money and status. I laughed at her accusations because, at the time, Merlina was earning more than me, and I was barely making ends meet. And status, what's that for a 25-year-old? Yes, my parents were well off and had a social life, if that's what you call status. Some other family members were no less. They joined my mother on her agenda, digging into Merlina's past, looking for anything they could use against her. They fabricated stories about her past, which no one cared about anyway. They crossed all lines when I took Merlina to my cousin's wedding. My mom tried to set me up with one of the bridesmaids. She went so far as to make subtle remarks, or rather, you two would make a great couple, right in front of Merlina. I got so furious I yelled at my mother to back off. She blew up, saying I yelled at her in front of everyone, and replied, "I won't back off, I don't want mixed-race grandkids." She was yelling so loud almost everyone around us could hear it. God, that was humiliating for us. I took out my phone and started recording the things she was saying. After that last altercation, I distanced myself from everyone. Not just them, but all relatives and anyone related to them. Not that it was their fault, but they kept inviting them, and I didn't want to be in the same room with them. I didn't want to tell them to pick sides. Whoever wanted us to go to their events couldn't invite them, and so it was. Like everything, some people pick sides. Meanwhile, Merlina and I focused on building our lives. When I got a stable, well-paying job, I proposed, and we got married secretly at a registry office. My parents were silent after that incident, but when they found out about our marriage, they went ballistic. My mother tried to rally the rest of the family for an intervention, but they knew better than to get involved in their mess. She kept spreading more lies, telling everyone Merlina had trapped me with a baby, that she scammed me, and she was using me for her green card, despite her being born and raised in the US. I was furious at her lies and wanted to put an end to it. I went to their house to make things clear. They should leave us alone and stop their hate campaign. But the conversation took an unexpected turn. Up to that point, it had been my mother who was leading the agenda, so I decided to talk to my dad and ask him to talk some sense into my mom. But now, she was spreading hatred against his daughter-in-law. Without fully hearing me out, he jumped in to save her. Without hesitation, he demanded I divorce Merlina, or he'd disown me. I thought he was a bit more level-headed than my mother, but he disappointed me greatly. I used to think he was indifferent to my mother's stupidity just to keep the peace at home, but now I realized he was actively involved in this too. I replied, "Sure, go ahead, but I'm not divorcing my wife." He shouted that he would change his will right away. I replied, "Great," and left their house, their lives. A few weeks later, he sent me a copy of the will where he had left everything to my younger brother. I laughed and tossed it. Since then, Merlina and I have worked extremely hard. I channeled all that anger into my own life and forgot about them. We moved, cut off all contact with anyone associated with my parents, and life got vastly better. It was quite difficult to stay away from everyone who was a part of our lives for 25 years, but we did it. We waited 5 years to have kids, until we were financially ready. And now, we have 3 kids, a house, and a good life, or good enough not to complain about. And we did it on our own. No inheritance, no family support, at least from my parents, just us. And now, 15 years later, I got a call from my dad. It wasn't his number, it's still blocked. I thought it might be work-related since it's not uncommon for them to give my number to someone new in the company. My dad was on the other side. He introduced himself as if it were a business call. I replied, "You don't have to introduce yourself. I know who you are. What I don't know is what you're calling me for after all these years." He said, "We wanted to visit you, so I called to ask for your address." I replied, "Why? Why the hell do you want it?" My dad kept playing along and said, to meet the grandkids. I couldn't help it, I threw their own words back at them. Hold on, which grandkids? You mean my kids? You remember my kids are, colored? I don't know if it would be good for you. You might taint them. There was a silence. Then he mumbled some reluctant apologies. I had the phone on speaker, and I heard Mom whispering something. He calmed down a bit and said they realized their mistakes and wanted to make amends. They said that back then they were a bit racist, but now they've deconstructed themselves and love all human beings equally. I said, I'm not interested in your apologies or amends, or how constructed or decaf you are now. It changes nothing. Those are words you just heard. Something that hasn't changed and won't change. I don't want you in my life, especially not near my kids. Mom took the phone and started crying. Son, we miss you. Why are you punishing us? Now that you have kids, you should understand how painful it is to not be able to see your kids. Look, if it happened to you with them, you'd want a second chance. I was exasperated. Wow, now you remember your son 15 years later, huh? Their justification was, you moved, you didn't even tell us, how are we supposed to find you? I laughed. Do you keep tabs on all my activities if you don't know my address? You must be kidding. She didn't have an answer for this. She kept whining about missing her son and wanting him back before they die. Literally begged me to forgive them. I asked if they were dying, sick, or something, or were they in danger right now, in which case they should call the police, not me. And they said no, which I already knew. I hung up, saying I didn't buy their excuse that they suddenly missed me and my kids. I don't believe them at all, but in the last few weeks, my relatives have been popping up again and have been on their side, asking me to forgive them and give them a chance to be better people. The other day, my uncle called and said I was being too hard on my parents, that they had realized their mistake and deserved a chance. He said it takes time and courage to come out of a conservative mindset and go against their belief system, therefore, I should forgive them for being so brave. Brave my ass. They are not even conservative parents with some old-fashioned ideas. I believe, even jokingly, or at least I hope so, that they had a local Ku Klux Klan headquarters in my city. This is not a misunderstanding because I was a father before I got married, or that type of thing from other generations. These were hardcore racists. But what do you guys think? Do my parents deserve a chance because they might have changed? Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe. New stories every day. Update 1. I know some of you think I'm being too harsh by not giving them a chance, as they are older and might have only a few years left. But does that give them a pass to humiliate my wife for no reason? She has been nothing but loving and supportive all these years. No, I don't think so. Just because they gave me life and are older, I'm not letting this slide. Despite all the pressure, I refused to tell them where I lived. But after a month, they showed up anyway, with my uncle. I almost slammed the door in their faces, but my uncle asked me to hear them out. He said I at least owed them a conversation, that I should be better than them. Listening to them would make me show them how a good person behaves. My uncle is one of the neutral people in all this, to give context. I didn't want drama in front of my kids because the conversation was already a bit loud, so I let them in. But I didn't let Merlina or my kids near them. She went to the room and stayed there with them. My mom shed a tear or two at the sight of my kids, although it was very little since they were behind Merlina. She was all smiles, with tears of joy. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. The eldest looks so much like you. Can I hug them? It felt fake, especially if you knew my mother and the things she'd said before. I know 15 years is a long time, but even now, I remember the things she said to me. Those are things that don't get erased so easily. My dad started with the same nonsense, that they were sorry, how much they missed me, that I was a grandpa ready to be there for the kids. My mom pulled out some wrapped gifts for the grandkids. I didn't accept them. I told them straight up, if you're here just to clear your conscience, save yourselves the performance. You had plenty of opportunities to amend your ways. This sounds fake. My uncle insisted I hear them out first. I said, fine, go ahead. And then the truth came out. They weren't here for me or the kids. Not really. They were here because they were drowning and needed someone to throw them a lifeline. Turns out their golden boy, Alan, my younger brother, is in trouble. I don't think he's the typical golden child, but they called him that because he got all their money. Also because he basically cut me off after what happened, because he wanted the money more. So that description might fit him. He married a girl they approved of, a suitable white girl whose family has never been invaded. All words of theirs. Their children are their pride. They bankrolled his life for years, bailed him out time and again. He has a business, sure, but the man is a walking liability. He's been married twice, has 5 kids in total, 3 from his first marriage. Lost custody of all of them and still has to pay child support. His second wife is separated now with 2 kids. Doesn't want to be near him because of all his irresponsibility. But guess what, he still has to pay child support. 5 mouths to feed, and Alan can barely support one family. My parents had to help. My dad has been using part of his salary to help him stay afloat. Besides his monthly allowance, he was entitled to regular bailouts, legal fees for his never-ending court battles with 2 wives. More than once, his business needed more investment, mortgages were piling up, kids got sick and needed medical attention. One of the kids had a mandatory school trip. My parents were always there for him. A year ago, he came up with a new plan that promised to double the investment. And guess what? My parents bought it and got rid of their safety net. They invested all their retirement money in that business. He started a business that promised what was impossible to deliver. Promised them returns that sounded too good to be true. The current situation is that he shut down his business and declared bankruptcy. And my parents' life savings went down the drain. Their bank accounts are getting depleted. So now they come to me, the son they disowned. Suddenly, they can't live without me and want to make amends, not because they woke up one day and said, "Remember Ope? I think I miss him. Let's contact him," but because they're desperate. It's desperation that I fly, and I don't care, only that they are stinking up my house. I told them, I find your story very sad, and I'm sure someone else would have bought it. It's the typical story that your son betrays you and leaves you with nothing. Who doesn't love a story like that? But unfortunately for you, I also know the kind of dung you were before this happened, so I don't want to be anywhere near all that. My uncle tried to play peacemaker, as if he was in a UN meeting, saying, family should stick together in times where things don't go as planned. After all, they're your parents. They raised you, you are what you are thanks to them. I looked at him like he had to be joking and said, if I were like my parents, I wouldn't have all this now. I would be out at night with torches, stones, and a white hood. My uncle intervened, calm, continuing his role of calming the waters. Well, good for you. I'm glad it all worked out for you. Your parents only wanted what was best for you, don't get me wrong. I calmed down and asked, what do you want? I want to end all this. My mom replied, we want to be a part of your life again. I asked, well, yeah, I know that's a lie, don't waste my time. They looked at each other uncomfortably. My dad wanted to say something, but my mom grabbed his arm, smiled and said, yes, we only want you. I asked again, it doesn't make sense. You showed up when you're financially drowning, and you're saying you want nothing more than to be a part of our lives. My mom countered, we realized your worth. You always knew what you wanted in life, so determined. We misunderstood you. I said, what worth? The monetary one. I wanted to play their game and see how long they kept up the facade. Okay, but I come as a package deal. I'm not alone, I have a wife and kids. You ask me for forgiveness, but what about Merlina? You too did a number on her. You owe her an apology. They looked at me incredulously, as if I was being unreasonable. My mom got dramatic. Isn't it enough that we came all the way here? Do you need to humiliate your own parents this way? I said, there's no disrespect in apologizing to someone you've hurt. What's more, this would be a great test to show you've changed. She countered, but we never said anything directly to Merlina, so an apology is out of the question. We can't apologize for trying to protect you. I think the things we said are compensated by your estrangement from the family. I laughed and reminded her of how they'd spread lies about her past, her intentions, and how they humiliated her by trying to set me up with other women. My dad intervened. What do you want? That we apologize to your wife? If you want to make your parents look so small in front of her, that's on you. Call her, and I'll do whatever you want. His sarcasm and attitude set me off. They hadn't changed one bit. I said, I don't want a forced apology. If you aren't truly sorry, then whatever you say doesn't matter. And why did you come here? My mom yelled, we came here to give you another chance, but you're acting crazy. I lost my patience and yelled back. This led to a blow-up, and I asked them to leave. My dad demanded I return every penny he'd spent on me, my education, my upbringing, even the gifts he bought me. I was taken aback by his demands. He said, give me the money back, and I'll leave you alone. Part of me wanted to sit down and calculate every cent they'd spent on me and then rub it in their faces. But then I calmed down. This is what they want. They want money, and that's why they're here. I told them, so you're here for money? If you're so hell-bent on getting your investment back, you can sue me, and my lawyer will contact you. I wasn't going to fall for their emotional trap. What they spent on me was their responsibility as parents. They can't claim it back. Did they ask my permission before spending it on me? No, right? So why should I pay for it? My uncle intervened, saying we were diverting the conversation to another topic. He also asked my parents to apologize to Merlina and start fresh. They agreed to talk to Merlina and apologize, but then I changed my mind. What's the point? I said, Merlina is better off without your fake apologies. My family and I are happy and complete. I don't want you to ruin it, so it's best you leave. My uncle still tried to mediate and calm me down, saying, your parents are getting older. It's better you reconcile now rather than cry at their funeral. I said, I won't cry at your funeral, because I'm not planning on attending either. And in case there's any doubt, I won't cry your deaths anywhere else either. I have no reason to. My uncle made his last attempt. Okay, if you don't want them near you, fine. At least help them financially, they're broke. Everything they have is gone. For the sake of humanity, help them. Give them a few thousand a month, it should be enough for them. I coldly replied that I didn't feel like doing charity. I told them, you are not welcome in my house and definitely not near my kids. Not now, not ever. They left. My uncle tried to stay, hoping I'd soften up. I said, you know what? I'm also tired of you playing Switzerland, why don't you give them your money? A few thousand, like you said. You can stop bothering me with your smooth tone of voice and your idiot face. I don't know if I did well to explode against my uncle. But practically the whole conversation was on my parents' side, and I have no patience for people who are on the wrong side of the universe. After they left, Merlina and I talked for hours about this, and I haven't changed my mind. I don't care that my parents are old because they're horrible old people. I also don't care that they're broke because it's their own fault. I don't care that they're offended because I don't care about offending people like my parents. And I don't care what happens to them from now on with what I'm going to do, because I'm going to publish everything they've done so that people who know them will know. Sure, they must know racist people like them, but let's see how many didn't know. If I haven't done it before, it's because I knew Merlina was embarrassed to make this bigger, but she agrees now. I am very sorry that they will regret having contacted me. Update 2. I no longer feel so bad about reacting against my uncle. He was also receiving money from my parents. That's why he was so interested in being the mediator. Well, he's also been swept along with the strong current that carried my parents away. Figuratively speaking, of course, we can't pollute any river with people like them. Things went like this, we made several posts, even generated expectations by saying what time the next post would be, and we started showing everything. From versions of our story, links to these posts, messages, and even the recording of my cousin's wedding. But by not making the whole publication at once, we started receiving screenshots and other evidence from relatives and friends who have interacted with my parents over the years. So what we thought would be 2 or 3 posts ended up being 15. The last ones didn't even have our information, it was all they sent us. It was crazy that it even reached the company where my father worked, and that caused him to be fired almost immediately. I don't think companies are all good now, as they try to sell. There will be some that are, and this one might be. But I do know that no company wants to be associated with an employee like my father, which is good for karma. There's also a rumor that the bank didn't want to renegotiate their house mortgage at a higher rate, which would give my parents some breathing room. But I can't confirm it in any way, and I don't know if it's legal on their part. My parents are very sorry they contacted me and have made it known through my uncle, whom I blocked. He was also angry about posting racist things about him, but it's part of the evidence that has arrived. I'm sorry for you, uncle, but I'm not sorry. Oddly enough, I haven't heard from my brother in all this. Although I'm not surprised, we haven't had contact in years. I would say he's not racist because I never heard him say anything along those lines, but I can't confirm it either. Nothing has come to me from him, so it's all assumptions. I hope I don't have to come back in 15 years because my parents come back again trying to repair the relationship. Although after they lose their house and have no money, they'll probably move in with my uncle, who also seems to have little money. I don't think they'll have much esteem for me now that my father doesn't have a job. Maybe there will even be a Ku Klux Klan against their children. Now I say goodbye, but if that last thing happens, you'll be the first to know. This will be a world exclusive because it would be the first in its existence.